Trigger warnings: revenge, adultery, addiction, domestic abuse, manipulation, essay. My husband posted my body online. Last Friday, I spent my evening with Kate, a young friend from work, as she wanted to discuss something personal with me. I didn't think anything of it, as we do have a very personal relationship outside of work as well. As soon as I arrived at her place, the tension in the air was thick. She explained that she wanted to discuss a serious matter with me but that she didn't know how to go about it. I told her to just rip the band-aid off and tell me. She told me that she had found 2 recordings of a woman she believed to be me on an adultery website. I told her that wouldn't be possible, but she was adamant that I was the woman in the recording. And she was right. I've never recorded myself without cloths or having sex with my husband, but there I was in 2 recordings of 7 minutes and 4 minutes. Both of them recorded in our old bedroom. As I rewatched every second of it, it started to dawn on me that this was what my husband was doing. But I pushed that deep down because there must be a reasonable explanation for this. Honestly, I left her place with my mind in a complete meltdown. I could barely hear what she was saying, but she did follow up with a text saying she's been in contact with the website about getting it taken down and that she'll help me go through this. She also said she's scouring the internet in case there are more out there. I came home and pretty much ransacked my house looking for evidence, and I found it. My husband was using hidden spy cameras to spy on me and record me in my most intimate moment. I then just spent hours vomiting, crying, projectile vomiting some more, and begging God to just let this be a nightmare. I am a deeply religious and fully veiled Muslim woman, and I've never been with anyone but my husband, and all this time he has been sharing my most intimate moments with the world. I don't know what to think or what to do. I can't look at him or speak to him. I've locked myself in our bedroom, pretending I have COVID. All I do is look up how other people have dealt with getting things removed, and it seems like once it's on the internet, it really is forever, even if I remove it from this one website. I've been crying nonstop. He truly must be something demonic, as he is right now talking about ordering in some of my favorites to see if I have an appetite since I haven't been eating well. I am so unbelievably hurt. I don't know how to share this with my family or how to ask for help. I am crippled with shame, anger, and pain. Answering some questions. 1. My husband or soon-to-be an ex-husband and I are of the same religion, race, ethnicity, and nationality. 2. My culture does not participate in honor unalivings, and I'm not afraid of my family harming me or not siding with me. 3. My family would support me in divorcing him. In fact, they would demand I do. 4. The laws in my country are secular, but in certain circumstances, it allows for the various religious groups in the country to hold their own courts that can enforce their rulings, as long as they don't impose or break secular law or civil liberties. 5. I do plan on taking this to a secular and religious court, as I want him punished. 6. I am veiled by choice, and the vast majority of my fellow countrywomen do not veil. 7. I am a niqabi, meaning the only parts of me visible to the public are my eyes. When I am with my family, with other women, or in women-only spaces, I don't veil. 8. Kate and I do not share the same religion or dress alike, yet we are friends. Update. I left him as I said I would. He went to work. The movers arrived, we packed my stuff, and we left. The entire time, I was crying to the point that even the movers were worried for me. But I couldn't stop myself from crying. I went home, sat my parents and siblings down, and explained the situation. My parents were and still are confused. They are elderly and fragile. They don't understand the internet. They just keep saying, okay, let's talk to the people, and it will be gone. But my siblings understand. They are angry. They are sad and heartbroken on my behalf. My siblings and brother-in-law took me home. We waited for him, and well, we had a conversation with him. He denied it at first. So my brothers were firm with him, and he started to be more truthful. He said he did it because he was depressed, because he had an adult videos addiction and an sex addiction, and because he didn't think anyone would see it. He said he posted only a few. When we asked him to be specific, he said he posted anything from 5 to 8. We had him take it down, but who knows how many times it has been downloaded or shared. In that moment, I also found out he had a secret phone. He was also cheating on me with random women and sex workers. All this time, I thought he was working hard. But nope, he was out disgracing himself and betraying our marriage. At some point, he convinced us he needed to use the bathroom, and he somehow managed to call his mother. He arrived at our home with his brother and cousins. There was a commotion as they were angry at the treatment of their family member. Then things calmed down enough to explain to them what he had done. His mother fainted. His mother is elderly and not in the best health condition. We called for an ambulance. My neighbor had also called the police, and I was arrested by the time the ambulance arrived to take care of my mother-in-law. I spent the evening locked up. I didn't exactly have a polite conversation with him. So yes, I was arrested for assaulting him. specifically slapping him, and he refused to press charges. I got released the next morning and went home to my parents. I cried some more because my parents kept crying. Then, a few days later, I spoke to some lawyers my sister had contacted, as they had experience with non-consensual material being posted online. They have been handling things with the police as I did press charges, and they are dealing with the websites. I have also started the process of divorce. I went to the clinic and got tested, and luckily he didn't give me anything so far, but I have another test scheduled just to be sure. I have spoken to his mother, and she apologized to me even though it's not her fault. She told me that she understood why I wanted him punished. She asked that I let it stay in the hands of the law rather than hurt him or have him hurt. He's in hiding, but he still calls and texts me from random numbers. He still lies and tries to manipulate me. I've just been documenting everything he says and texts me. Oh, at this point, everyone knows. I mean everyone, even little kids. And I feel more humiliated now than I did at first. Update. This man has destroyed everything I have worked for and has completely destroyed the very little sense of stability and safety I had left. I had to resign from my job, a job that I loved. Jobs don't come easy for me with the way that I look. I can't work there anymore because I am a potential danger to the children and staff. Since then, perverted men have started to harass me at work. I work with vulnerable children, and mothers who have heard about me have started to refuse to work with their children. Some don't want me to be involved with their child because their husbands can't stop being weird. Fathers have leered at me or made lewd comments toward me, and one of them even offered me money to sleep with him. Men have called me with greater frequency than ever before. Men stare at me. A man followed me from my dentist office and touched me on the street. Random men call my phone, my family home, and my office to verbally abuse me because my husband has posted my address, my personal and work email, phone numbers, workplace address, and every other bit of information online. It is as if the eyes and judgment of the entire world are on me. Yes, the great majority of people are sympathetic, kind, and supportive of me. Many people have reached out in support of me, from old classmates to former colleagues, neighbors, members of my religious community, family friends, his family, and many more. They have expressed solidarity and kindness, but the crazies and perverts who believe in him and are like him are bolder, louder, and much more noticeable. Then I found out from my lawyers and their investigators that he was drugging me and assaulting me as I slept. I suffer from migraines and insomnia, and take medication for them. He saw my medication as an opportunity to drug me with my own prescriptions. He shared and was actually bragging on a forum where other perverts congregated about how clever he was for drugging me with my own medication, and they were encouraging him to do more things for me. The soon-to-be ex-husband has also decided to spread rumors that I was aware of the cameras and pressured him into posting online. And there are people who believe him. He also changed his mind about not pressing charges. I went to court. The judge and prosecutors were sympathetic and dismissed the case. It was a combination of my lawyers explaining the circumstances that led to me slapping him and his subsequent actions. My lawyer used his own words against him since he wrote it in text, and on a recorded call, he admitted to me not having slapped him that hard and that he only pressed charges to cause me harm. But his crimes against me are still being investigated by the prosecutors. Update. It all boils down to jealousy and me emasculating him. I wish I could say I was feeling better or doing better, but I feel awful, and I am still struggling with everything. It is still his life's mission to be as cruel as he can be and to stand in the way of every step I take. He is still refusing to work with my divorce lawyer. He continues to be difficult every step of the way and has run off his own lawyers. He is now on his third lawyer, and we are again starting from scratch in the divorce negotiations. He has been granted an extension by the courts due to his last lawyer just dropping him a few days before our hearing. As for posting non-consensual material, a trial date was scheduled, and he recently asked for an extension, and he'll probably be granted it as his criminal lawyer dropped him too. So in the last month, he has been dropped by his divorce lawyer and his criminal lawyer. The man is on a roll. When it rains, it sure pours. My father passed away a little over a month ago, and my mother is now in hospice care as she is soon to go back to God. I'm sad but not shocked about this, as I've had a long time to prepare for it. My father had been battling cancer for almost 3 years and was as prepared as a person can be, and my mother's health had been declining significantly for years due to her dementia. My soon-to-be ex-husband decided it was a great idea to corner me at the venue we held the after-funeral meal at. He decided to wait for me to be alone. He approached me as I was cleaning up the venue. I was on my own, and at that time I was kind of exhausted and could not muster up the rage to chase him off as I had done many times before, so I just let him talk. He seemed almost decent, as he was giving a million excuses for why things were the way they were. He cried about how awful he felt for hurting me. Then he started telling me about how he always felt I was better than him in everything, as I made more money, was better educated, and had been better traveled than him, and that he felt jealous of my confidence. In the beginning, these were things that he was most attracted to, but as our relationship and marriage progressed, these were the things he started to dislike about me. He also said that he was angry that I refused to consider being a stay-at-home wife and mother, even though he knew from the beginning that I wasn't the stay-at-home, homemaker type. He said that he tried to be a good husband, but that my refusal to bend or let him have the last say in things was the catalyst for his anger and need to humiliate me. He talked about how he had always had addiction issues, but he thought that if he was married, he would be cured of his depression, his adultery videos, and his sex addiction. He felt like if I ever found out, I would have never married him or divorced him, and that angered him and pushed him to want to punish me for thinking I was better than him. He was jealous and angry about so many things. But when I said to him, "So you hurt me because you felt jealous and inadequate in comparison," he lost his mind and started to shout and say that he knew I would react that way. I decided to refrain from commenting further and just let him spill his guts uninterrupted. For 3 hours, he made excuse after excuse for why he did what he did. But it all comes down to him feeling inferior to me, and being jealous and angry that I dared have a mind and life of my own. He said right before our wedding he joined a men's group online that was helping him deal with his adultery and sex addiction, and one tip given was to make your own adultery videos and watch that instead. But he knew I'd never agree to it, so it was my fault he needed to spy on me and that he never intended to share it with others. But one day I had angered him so much, and as a payback, he posted it, and he felt good. And so every time I emasculated him by having my own mind or upset him in some way or another, he would post more. Eventually he gained a following and had so many men asking him to post more that he started to like the fact that other men looked up to him for his sexual prowess. At the same time, his sex addiction started to come back, and he fell back into his habit of picking up women, and when he couldn't get it for free, he'd hire a sex worker. Then, I guess, it spiraled out of control for him. The more he spent on his addictions, the more lies he told, the more he felt like a failure for me to cover our expenses, the more he resented me, and he got stuck in a cycle of self-destruction, which in turn only fueled his anger with me. He also says he joined a support group for addicts and started going to an addiction rehabilitation clinic as an outpatient to deal with his issues, and that I should give him credit for that. He feels that I should be proud of him for doing that and that I should take him back since he's putting in so much work. He also feels I should appreciate him not stalking me since my dad unalived, and he is sincere in his feelings this way. He genuinely doesn't understand why I'm not seeing how hard he's been trying the past few months. In his deluded mind, he thinks that his honesty in our conversation should count for something and that I am just being a heartless bee for having been stoic and unmoved by his tears and his show of vulnerability. Even though he gave a great performance of being human during our conversation, I remained unmoved by it because there was nothing to be moved about. I just continued to pack things up from the venue, got in my car, and went home. I'm still not working. I still have crazy men calling my phone at all hours of the day, and I still feel humiliated and embarrassed. The only good thing that has happened is that several of the sites have taken down the recordings and banned him from using their platforms. Update: curses are like young chickens, they always come home to roost. Finally, I have some good news. So a while back, I was granted a restraining or protective order, and my now officially ex-husband did continue to stalk and harass me. After the umpteenth time of calling the police and going to court, he was finally imprisoned, and he has been in prison for a little over a month. I was also granted my divorce. I initially wanted a quick divorce and wanted to just give him everything he asked for, but he kept finding ways to delay or asking for more and more, and I just snapped, so I told my lawyers to do their worst, and they did. My lawyers hated him, and I got everything I wanted and way more. Not to gloat, but it was really satisfying seeing him cry. This has been the most peaceful month I've had in a long time. This entire time has been such a trying time, and it has affected my mental and physical health. I've lost 12 kilograms, and I've lost a ton of hair due to the stress he was causing me. But I can honestly say that him wailing in court was the chicken soup my soul needed. I've moved from my city and now live on the other side of the country, and I've gotten myself a decent enough job. I am slowly mending my confidence. I am in therapy, and I can't say it's working right now, but I know if I stick with it, it will. The non-consensual material he posted has been removed from the more reputable websites he posted on. And my lawyers were able to get me monetarily compensated as these companies didn't want to go to court over it. I mean, money doesn't really change things that much, and I am still hurt, but it's something. I'm also not so delusional as to think that it isn't still out there in some way or another, and I know there really isn't much I could ever do about that, so I'm just trying to make peace with it. My ex-husband will be serving time in prison for what he did. My lawyers are working with the courts, and that should be sorted out soon enough. I think the reality of the consequences is becoming very clear to him, as I have heard through the grapevine that he attempted to commit self-harm and is now in protective custody until his trial date. He is facing up to 30 years of corporal punishment, and I absolutely look forward to it. Thank you for watching the video.